Another pastor has been arrested in Kenya following the deaths of almost 100 people, including children, in the Shakahola forest. It's believed they starved themselves to death after alleged cult leader Paul Mckenzie told his followers that the world would come to an end on the 15th of April. For more on this, let's speak to Reverend Tom Otieno, who's of the Anglican Church of Kenya. Reverend, a very good evening to you. Grateful for your time. How do we even begin to make sense of what's alleged to have happened here in this day and age?
It's mindless, and it's bewildering for us as pastors to, first of all, just read and see and try and comprehend. We cannot even try and comprehend and wrap our minds around that. But the thing that we are now sure about is that there are people masquerading as church leaders who are actually doing dubious and even dangerous business. And so we're beginning to reckon with that here in Kenya.
I'm glad you used the word business, and I wonder if the treatment of faith, spirituality, religion as a business has played a role at all in what we're seeing now.
Yes, I think it has, because sometimes faith is mixed with business, and it becomes very good business even for politicians, because if you fund someone's campaign, they're not likely to touch you. If you are close to somebody, they're not likely to look your direction, even if they should be looking your direction. So there's a very potent relationship between faith, business, and politics. And I think that may have played a part in this, because the reports of this church have been coming to authorities for a while. And the pastor in question has been arrested a couple of times and released. And so just by deduction and by observation and knowing how systems work, it seems that this is a person who is well-oiled and well-connected with certain quarters of power.
It's frightening that this is a person who was known to the authorities, and now ultimately his alleged actions have culminated in the deaths of close to 100 people and more bodies. We must just say it for our viewers. People suspect there may still be more bodies in the forest. More alarming is that many of the bodies found are those of children who would not have had a say, who would have been starved basically by their parents, their guardians, who followed this man.
That is correct. And what is more horrifying is the fact that we probably haven't seen the end of it. So we, as pastors in mainline churches and who believe in sound biblical doctrine, would like to, first of all, condemn that in the strongest terms. And secondly, we have also called for accountability for him and all his associates. And thirdly, we are saying that there must be a distinction between those pastors that preach sound biblical doctrine and those that are heretics or those that are imposters.
But if Mckenzie was doing this for quite a while, was known to the authorities and had been arrested once or twice before, why is it that no one was able to prevent a tragedy such as what we're discussing tonight?
A combination of two factors. One, the fact that he apparently or appears to be well connected to certain authorities who remain unknown up to now. And secondly, it is the lackluster nature of accountability structures within church leadership to hold its own to account. We don't have a universal disciplinary system. Belonging in different denominations, each denomination has its own, and then we have the slippery terrain of self-owned churches, which are more or less driven by one person. They are legal entities, they have been legalized, they're operating legally, but they are not accountable to anyone. That is very dangerous terrain. And
what we're hearing from this case is that many of these congregants who basically starved themselves because they were given a promise that if they died in that way, they would basically get to meet Jesus Christ, I understand, is the message that was being preached. These are people who don't come from very well-off backgrounds in the main, people who would have been seeking something from the church, right? People lean into something often in times of crisis and times of strife, and they were manipulated. That need was manipulated.
That is correct. Of course, there is always a very strong appeal to people who are in need. Our message is mainly to the needy. That makes the poor some of our very big customers as pastors. That means that, like Caesar's wife, pastors must, of essence, subscribe to the highest form of integrity and faithfulness to what sound biblical doctrine is by lifestyle and also through what we teach. And we must also give ourselves to structures that are governed by others other than ourselves to help us stay in the straight and narrow. So all these safeguards were not there. But you're right about the appeal. You're right about the appeal to the poor. That is correct.
And is there much support for what you are suggesting among the clergy and the various denominations in Kenya to have perhaps a body that is able to regulate and watch over what is going on in churches so that people aren't manipulated and ultimately killed in the way that they have been?
Somewhat, yes, there is. In fact, in the church terrain in Kenya, we have two large divisions. One is larger than the other. The first division is those of us who are in regulated environments. So we are part of denominations which are part of ecumenical gatherings, which are part of structured organizations. So those usually you do not find a lot of misdemeanor or this kind of criminality. But with those organizations that are led by one person that are accountable to none, they are in the minority, and they have resisted all the attempts that we have made to try and have a uniform way of self-regulation within the church. So there's a lot of support for self-regulation within church leadership in Kenya, but there's the few who have sort of hamstrung the process over the years, because it's a conversation that began way back in 2008, but has never been settled, because every time you get to the place where you want to sign documents, somebody rushes somewhere and pulls off the plug, and then the process has to reset and start again. And so it's been an ongoing conversation, and we hope that this particular incident brings the matter to rest.
Reverend Tom Otieno with the Anglican Church of Kenya, thank you so much for your time, sir.